Hey guys, and welcome back. My name is Heather, and I am a co-host of I Will Go Down with the Ship. Today, I wanted to react to the Beetlejuice trailer. I have seen this trailer a good 10 times already, plus the serotonin it gives me. I love it. I am so excited. For those of you who don't know me very well, I am a huge Beetlejuice fan. The movie is in my top five of all time. I used to watch the cartoon when I was a kid, and I just wanted to give you my thoughts on this new trailer and potentially discuss the story because, as you know, on this channel, we talk about writing and being authors and utilizing things that we love, especially in fandom, and apply them to our writing. So, we're going to jump right in. But just really quickly to touch on Beetlejuice itself, the first movie. It was obviously released in 1988, 1 year before I was born. Tim Burton, love him. Michael Keaton, he's my second favorite actor in the entire world, just after Johnny Depp. But basically, the movie follows Adam and Barbara, a recently deceased couple, as they try to exorcise humans out of their house. They haven't really accepted the fact that they've died and they are newlyweds and they saw a whole future together and it was kind of cut short. So Lydia's family moves in and they're trying to get them out. And this is where Beetlejuice comes in. He's an exorcist and a lot of hijinks ensue, and Barbara and Adam kind of get over their heads. And yeah, it's just an awesome movie. I love it. I highly recommend it, especially with Halloween just around the corner. Um, and a cartoon was made from it, and the cartoon itself was made specifically in mind, like Tim Burton was a very big force driving the cartoon. So he approved a lot of it. It's very different than the movie, much more kid friendly, so to speak. But anyway, let's get into the trailer and let's go from there. Um, Obviously, we're going to open up with um, a shot of the school. And so my initial thought was, oh, this must be Miss Shannon's school for girls. But as we can clearly see, there are boys who also attend this school as well. So I'm not sure if it's just a quick nod to it or if Astrid, which is Lydia's daughter, comes into play, if they've just taken the concept of Miss Shannon's and just had boys attend as well. And based on the concept that I'm already familiar with, I can't help but wonder, is this school um, at the town Lydia grew up in? Because it's clear from the first trailer that they come back. They come back to town because her father has passed away. Um, and so it made me wonder, if is this sort of like in our setup of a story, like what life is like for Astrid, for Lydia, before the story really starts, before we hit that inciting incident. So without further ado, we'll start and we can just go from there. So from there, I think we can clearly see that she must be at some kind of boarding school because they've set it up in her, I think that's her room. Like if you notice, there's like a desk there, and she's getting a phone call from her alleged mom, who's obviously Lydia. And right from the get-go, we can see that she is not very popular. People don't really like her, and yeah, so let's keep going. Ugh, that laugh. So that bridge, for those of you who don't know, is very poignant. This is where Adam and Barbara they drove off a bridge trying to avoid the dog, and that's how they wound up dying. And so for Astrid to ride her bike through the tunnel, the bridge, it kind of symbolizes almost like that life to death sort of moment. I will go back and say though, that having watched that again with it being a boarding school, I do think that it's that setup. And so wherever the school is, it's not where Lydia is. And she's probably getting that phone call from her mom to let her know that her grandfather has passed and they're going to go back in order to attend his funeral. So that's really interesting. And I'm curious when he says, oh, she's a legend, because obviously at the end of the first movie, she and Barbara and Adam and her parents, they've all come to being able to live together cohesively. So it makes me wonder, like, okay, did other people know? I mean, clearly, 33 years later, that, yeah, they call it the ghost house. Also, I love the shawl over the entire house. I feel like that is just so Catherine O'Hara's character. Like I could see her doing that. Now, I don't know if you noticed, but I feel like Lydia was dressed up super like Elvira-y almost. And it makes me wonder, and I think that I've seen this somewhere where she's supposed to be like a TV host who talks about the supernatural. And I thought that that was a very interesting choice. I don't think I would have necessarily, I don't know if that's what I would have assumed that that is her life path per se, only because I guess I don't, after the end of that first movie, I don't know if I would have believed that she would be okay sort of exploiting, the supernatural, like by kind of turning them into this commodity that they're going to record. Obviously, I am giving them the benefit of the doubt as of right now because this trailer is already like so amazing. But it was kind of like it did throw me. So yeah, that's but let me just say right here, like as someone who shipped Beetlejuice and Lydia, I love that her picture is on his desk. And as we can see, the Michael Scott World's Best Boss, I love that. But if you kind of notice over here, it just say he's afterlife management. And so we can clearly see that he's working for that same sort of agency that Juno had been working for, which again is a very interesting choice because you wouldn't think that someone like Beetlejuice would be working there. But it also does make me wonder if because he did, it's it's hinted at in the first movie that he and Juno had worked together before, and then he kind of um let's just say he got bored and started, doing his own thing, which maybe didn't always follow the rules of the Netherworld. But he looks like he's back at it. And I don't know. I just think it's the cutest thing. I think he's like smitten with her, right? Like for the last 30 plus years. And here I think is very interesting because despite all of the evidence of, I mean, Lydia literally grew up with Barbara and Adam, where her daughter is in complete denial. And it makes me curious, like, why she would believe that if she's just sort of like this rebellious teen going against anything her mom says. But again, it could also be that she just sees her mom as commodifying something like ghosts, and it's just, it's silly. Okay, so right there, out of this entire trailer, no offense, but this really pissed me off because if you go back and you watch that first movie, the one thing, again, if you follow our podcast or if you watch any of our videos, we talk about if you're going to write a morally gray or a villain, even a way to add complexity to the character is giving them a redeeming quality. Beetlejuice does have a redeeming quality, and every time he makes a deal, he follows through with it. When Adam and Barbara hired him in order to exorcise the Dietzes from the house, he follows through. Now, the methods that he used maybe weren't, people didn't agree with it, and that's fine. but he did exactly what they asked him to do. Same thing for Lydia. When the exorcism was actually exorcising Barbara and Adam, and if the exorcism went through, then they're gone forever. She makes a deal with Beetlejuice where she will marry him if he stops the exorcism, if he saves Barbara and Adam. And guess what? He does that. And so when it's actually time for her to get married, that's when um well, it doesn't go as planned, let's just say. So Beetlejuice has always kept his word when he makes deals. So I don't like this line at all because I don't think he has to prove that to anyone. If anything, Beetlejuice should be questioning her and being like, well, how do I know if I help you with your daughter that you're going to follow your word? So whatever the deal that they decide to make is. But I do want to say too, that I really do like this setup because regardless of my ship, it's clear that Lydia has avoided Beetlejuice her whole life for good reason, right? And only something with high stakes is going to have her turn back and ask him for help. And so clearly that is with the daughter, like something happening to her daughter. And so I think that that is believable. I really, really like that. Um, and honestly, like already, I'm hoping that we get more of Michael Keaton in this movie because in the first movie, he's really only on screen for 15 minutes. And so judging by the trailer, I'm thinking he's going to have a bigger part. I love, okay, a couple of things. I love that he has like a team. Like usually he's just his own little like friend. Like he doesn't have any friends in the first one. He's just by himself. And here it's like he has this like whole team. And I kind of love that for him. And I love that he calls her honey. I also love really quick, I'm sorry. I love so many things. I love that he's back in that bus driver outfit. And I'm hoping we kind of get to see um like a little bit of his history on that, like who he like was he that, before. I mean, obviously not, like clearly it's established that he died 600 years ago, but I'm just curious, like, okay, why the bus driver outfit? Okay, it's clear based on the first trailer, and obviously people are talking, that this is Beetlejuice's first wife. Now, if you remember in the first movie, when he pulls out the ring to Lydia, you see a finger attached to it, which obviously disgusts her. And she's like, ah, she never meant anything to me, honey, nothing, nothing. And I love that they're bringing this back into play. Now, I am curious, out of all the time for her to come back to get back at Beetlejuice or whatever. It's right now. So I'm going to be very curious to see how the story sets up this sort of subplot for Beetlejuice. But I absolutely love it because it gives a little callback to the first movie, right? It's that setup and payoffs that we all just love. And it's going to give us more of a backstory for Beetlejuice himself, which I'm really excited about. So Justin Theroux's character is Lydia's fiance. We don't really get to see a lot of his personality. Um, but I'm very curious. I mean, obviously, I don't want her to wind up with him, but I mean, it'll be very interesting to see the dynamic he brings to this. When I saw that the first time, I screamed like, and this to me, it calls back the cartoon where like he was very on the nose about all of his jokes. And I think that this is such an awesome, just disgusting thing. So I'm curious, like it's very couples therapy. And I'm like, okay, are you just curious of like, okay, how can I screw up this dynamic? Because I really want in with Lydia. And I don't know if you guys noticed, but a few seconds earlier, you had Beetlejuice and Lydia sort of dancing and levitating, which again is that callback to the first movie where Lydia is singing Deo and they rise up. But I feel like in that particular situation, it's again in a church. It almost reminds me of a wedding. So I'm wondering if he wants her to marry him and in exchange for finding the daughter. So yeah. So for me, like this is like, okay, Beetlejuice has been messing with him, like because he does not like the fact that this guy is on or is with Lydia. And I just love that. I love that he's being a petty bitch right now. So I don't know if you saw like the Beetlejuice was in his like very infamous red outfit. So again, this calls back to the wedding. So I am wondering, I mean, we see the wedding cake. So I'm wondering if Beetlejuice does require Lydia to marry him. And it almost seems like there might be that time, like, Beetlejuice's former wife is after him, and maybe he needs to marry Lydia for a reason. Like, it's not just, oh, I like her. I think it's that too, but I think that there's more to it than that. Because if you listen to this part about confronting the unknown and the fears, he might be afraid of something. But I guess let's just watch and see what happens. I loved that. I mean, we got a F word in the 1988 movie, which was perfect. And I know a lot of people are wondering if Keaton's gonna do the little jerky motion. If you know, you know, because he seems to do that in a lot of his movies. It's quintessential Keaton. So it'll be very interesting to see if we see that here. But again, you have this wedding cake in the background. I wouldn't be surprised if once again the wedding is interrupted. It could be, because of his side of the not family, but his ex-wife or whatever. I love that. I mean, such a again another callback to Barb and Adam and how they had attempted to scare um, the Dietzes and completely oblivious to it. But anyway, so that was the trailer. I'm very curious to see if we get another wedding interrupted and it doesn't actually go through and they wind up just being friends instead of enemies. I would be okay with that as a shipper, just as long as it's not like she's running off with Justin Theroux's character. I just don't want it to be too kitschy either. It's dark humor, and I want there to be an element of that darkness. You do not, I'm not saying that they need to get Lydia and Beetlejuice together. I'm not saying that. I just need the story to make sense where it isn't tied up with a nice little fairy tale ending bow. But the one thing, like I said, I didn't really like is Lydia questioning Beetlejuice's ability to keep his word, because if anyone hasn't been keeping their word, it's her. So that's my take. I would love to know yours. Please leave them in the comments below, subscribe, and I will talk to you guys later. Bye.